Everything that I put out always comes right back to me. Every dream I dreamed about is opening up in front of me. The sandcastles that I build are tolerated by the sea, and all of my bridges are being built so rapidly. Crossing over them, I know that I have opened up another part of me, another place for me. Space. And I want to keep it moving, let those feelings feel up and fly. Got to let the feeling blossom, let it grow, cut to the sky and cover the sky. Every step that I take puts another ahead of me. Every movement that I make puts my life in what I see. And all the pictures that I paint are taking brushes and painting me. And all of my bridges are being built so rapidly. Crossing over them, I know that I have opened up another part of me, another place for me. Space. And I want to keep it moving, let those feelings feel up and fly. Got to let the feeling blossom, let it grow, cut to the sky. You got to let your feeling, you gotta let your feelings cover the sky. Got to let your feeling, you gotta let your feelings cover the sky, 'cause they cover the sky. Lose keep it moving, let those feelings get up and fly. Got to let the feeling blossom, let it grow and cover the sky. You got to let your feeling, you gotta let your feeling cover the sky. Got to let your feeling, you gotta let your feeling cover the sky. 'Cause they cover the sky and they color the sky.
Just a lot of folk sitting around the fire warming, singing all the songs that memory don't deny. Just a lot of fools sitting around the fire fooling, blow the marshmallow out and dream a dream gone by. Oh, the magic of an endless spell, cosmic wonder, mystery you won't tell, sailing in our circles, dreaming on a line, trying to remember in a dream that lasts forever. Just a lot of souls turning in a circle, warming, touching all the flames that reach so deep within our eyes. Just a little light, but not enough to see, and just enough to make us seem important in the night. Oh, the magic of an endless spell, cosmic wonder, mystery you won't tell, sailing in our circles, dreaming on a line, trying to remember in a dream that lasts forever. Just a lot of folk sitting around the fire warming, singing all the songs that memory don't deny. Just a lot of fools sitting around the fire fooling, blow the marshmallow out and dream a dream gone by.
Good morning. I hope you are all well. It's mighty nice to have you here. I think you are probably catching on by now that this is a church built on covenant and not creed. We do not have to all think alike to love alike and to understand the importance of valuing, learning from, and trying to cooperate with people who have differing paths and opinions. It's not easy. That is our challenge, and it is also our covenant. So whoever you are, whatever your age, race, origin, orientation, background, status, ability, identity, if you care to be here with us, you're welcome. We front load these services with some information, trying to get as much about what's going on here and with our congregation to as many people as possible, as often as possible, and in as many ways as possible. So I'm going to invite one of our board persons to come share some information this morning. Susan Yellett.
Good morning, everybody. I'm really glad to be here with you guys. It's beautiful today. Look out this window. Amazing. So, our volunteer for the month is Ash McLean. Just an awesome young person who's working very diligently with the LTA group and a super RE teacher. I've gone in there and sat with him a few times and just really inspirational for the kids. We're having our, give him another hand. As you know, we operate on a budget every year. So if you haven't had a chance to put in your pledge, there's some forms in the back, the front, the back, the bag. We're still debating that. But please fill it out, however much you can do. I know I don't do a lot, but whatever little bit helps. We're going to have our congregational meeting January 29th after the church service, and we'll need to have all of our pledges in by then so that they can prepare a budget that we're going to vote on. So please take care of that. Oh, they're due today. Okay. Yeah, and they're going to work on the budget. And then we have Charles Wilson is going to come up and talk about a very important topic now. Is he here? Yes. Okay. And thank you.
Good morning. My name's Charles Wilson. I'm relatively new to Shreveport and also coming here. I've been coming to services since about May. And my time here has actually been, I feel like, a series of blessings sort of unfolding in front of me. One of them, obviously, is that I've come upon this community, and it's been really important to me. Another is that I very accidentally found an organization called Volunteers for Youth Justice that was doing some very important work that I wanted to be part of. I'm a retired public school administrator and educator, and I miss the work, although I don't miss the job. Volunteers for Youth Justice is an organization based primarily of volunteers, hence the name. There is a staff, but they work very closely in the court system with kids and families that come from hard places, that are often going through the foster system, children who have been taken out of homes for their safety. And so one of the things that they do is a program called Trust-Based Relational Interventions. And so it's a program where I'm a trained advocate now. We go into the homes of certain foster families. We're actually assigned by the judges in the juvenile and family court system, and work with the foster families, because a lot of these kids are coming with some real serious trauma that needs to be dealt with and healed to the degree it can. They also do as a larger work called CASA, court-appointed special advocates. Again, these are assigned through the justice system. I want to mention the justice system because I had the pleasure of sitting in on a family and juvenile court session led by Judge David Matlock this week. First of all, I've never seen a person who is so contemplative and listens so intently as Judge Matlock. He's probably going to be retiring soon, and so we need to make sure that we vote for a judge who's going to fill his shoes. But the other judges are developing a relationship with Volunteers for Youth Justice. So I was speaking with Kelly Todd, the executive director, yesterday, and she asked me also to emphasize for you all, first, her gratitude for your support, but also they're expanding into the schools. So they're launching a very big project that I'm pleased to be part of with Caddo Public Schools, where we're going to be bringing the trust-based relational interventions into every school in the parish. Every teacher, every staff member will be trained in terms of helping to build a more supportive and kind environment for our students. So I think we should all be proud of our school district, and also that we have an organization like VOIGA in our community. So thank you very much.
So that is our giveaway, the plate recipient for this month. Any monies that go into those little baskets at the back of the sanctuary or front of the church that are not marked pledge will go to Volunteers for Youth Justice. If you only have one check and you want to make some for a pledge and some for the giveaway the plate, you can indicate that in the subject line at the bottom. And it's certainly a worthwhile organization. Ms. Susan, did you have some announcements? Or you can cover that, and I'm going to do the...
Hi, good morning. I'm Susan Caldwell. I'm the Religious Education Director here, and I just want to remind you that a week from today is something called World Religion Day. It happens at the Highland Center, where a lot of things happen. That's at 520 Olive Street, the corner of Highland and Olive. If you haven't been before, this is our first year back in person since 2020. We did have it in 2020 because that was January before the world shut down. It's an afternoon of table displays from a lot of different faith groups, and you will be surprised at the diversity of faith groups that's right here in our community. We've had as many as 18 or 19 in the past. I really don't know how many we'll have this year. That is still a work in progress, but we are hoping to build back at least to almost that. And so there will be table displays in the gym, and there are panel discussions throughout the afternoon also, or 3 times during the afternoon, where people from different faiths talk about the big questions. This year they're going to be talking about the rise of hate and extremism, and how do we take care of each other. And they're going to be talking about how has the pandemic affected the way you practice your faith, and do you have ideas going forward that might help others. And the other one, which I think is always a really interesting one, is what do people most get wrong about your faith? So I'm not sure yet where Reverend Barbara will land on that selection of questions, but I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody, and I hope that you will come out. And if you would like to work at the All Souls table, do talk to me. And I meant to mention that in Adult Religious Education this morning. I'd have to email that group, but I would love it. I would love to have some good, well-informed, solid UUs to represent us at our table. So talk to me. Thank you.
One of our dependable table workers has been up in Wisconsin for years now, taking care of his mother, but Richard Denton always worked at the table and also brought lavender cookies to share with the people that came by to ask questions. So he's missed there, he's missed in the choir, and he sometimes attends online. So I want to shout out to Richard. We have coming Thursday after this, not this week, but the following Thursday, the Matsiko International Children's Orphan Choir. Okay, they're going to be performing here Thursday the 26th at 6:30. We have some posters like this in the foyer that need to be put around town. We want to invite people. Admission is free. Donations are gratefully received for them. We will also be housing them Wednesday night and Thursday. They're going to be sleeping here in sleeping bags on the floor unless we can find people, and we can do some of both, who can take like 4 or 5 people, because they take more than one of the students and more than one of the chaperones, I think, just so that nobody's isolated and ethics are all attended to everywhere they go. They have 18 girls, I don't remember how many female chaperones, and 6 boys, and I think 5 male chaperones. So it's a good-sized group. We're going to be housing them. We are also invited to provide some meals for them. They can take care of their own food needs if need be. If you want to help us feed them, they don't do cookies, cakes, pies, just sweets, none of that stuff. And they try to keep them away from dairy like yogurt and milk, also because it affects their singing voices. Okay, so if you're interested at all in helping with any of those meals, I would really love to hear from you. And if you have some place you can put a poster, please take one. We're going to be using a day sponsorship, I think, to talk about some of that. What?
I just wanted to encourage people to write, because I realized after I printed their poster, it talks about the $40 sponsorship, but there's nothing on it that says free concert that I see. So if you would write, like with Sharpie or something at the top, free, admission is free, or free concert, or something like that. Because I don't want people thinking it costs $40 to attend.
Okay, all right. Free concert. The program will be, I think, about an hour, and it starts at 6:30, so it won't keep people up past their bedtimes, and I'm thinking it's going to be a pretty wonderful thing. I hope you will make an effort to come. This is MLK weekend, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend. Historically, we have celebrated that in a way that would maybe seem to make it one of our high holy days. You know, we've gone out of our way to have special speakers and events and stuff. We very much still honor that tradition. We also recognize we're in serious need of new vision and new leaders. So I want to encourage each of you in your celebration and in your honoring and appreciation for all of the contributions that Dr. King gave us. You search for your place to continue the work. All right. I invite you now to settle into your seat. Let it hold you. Take a few deep breaths. And let us enter a spirit of worship. come to me, come to me. Here we are, before the essence and origin of existence we gather, that by which we live and move and have our beings. Wind that whispers through the willow trees, sun that sustains us, water that washes over willing earth and weathered stones, a smile shared and savored, a child's squeal of delight as she dances, whether in mountains of leaves or the daisies and daffodils in other seasons. The quiet joy of gathered community. This is the spirit of life and love that we call forth now into this gathering. May this spirit infuse our hearts, fill our souls, and carry us forward like a wave on the ocean as we now enter into this sacred time and space, deeper than our DNA, more fundamental than molecules or quarks. At our living core, we are wholeness and transfiguring love. We are often forgetters of that power, becoming lonely and resentful, comparing ourselves to others, acting out of fears rather than our living the glory that we are. Occasionally we rouse from our trance, remember our wholeness. For this time, let us be recalled into the wonderful, multi-layered creature that we are. For a time we embody unsentimental love. We make efforts to wait and to help others wake and to remain as fully present ourselves as we can. Our lives and our time here together are made sacred by our striving for the next 60 minutes to rest and to strive through the rest of our lives. May we be more aware of the spirit of life evolving through and among us. So may we be, and let us come worship together. Is there anyone in the congregation that would like to come forward and help lead the first part of our chalice lighting? Bless your heart. You know, they are not the only ones who can do this. We need some more folks stepping up. Isn't that right, Ava Kate? Thank you.
We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the helping hands. This is the church of the loving heart. Together, with mind, hands, and heart, we care for the earth and for each other.
So much. We kindle this flame, honoring the doorways in our souls, the windows through which we gaze at one another. the balconies where we catch glimpses of sky, the thresholds we stand on this morning, wondering, hoping, fearing, dreaming. May its light and warmth assure us on this path that we are not alone. Would you please rise in body or spirit and join me in the unison affirmation? Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the sacred. Thus do we covenant with each other. Thank you. Our opening song is taken from a Buddhist meditation. And we'll, I think, do it a cappella. You may want to turn inward even as we stand to sing it. Susan, would you help me with it? It's in a round. I don't know if we'll do it as a round or not. No, it's not. It's in harmony. I lied. So, you want to give us I don't know the first note is, so you give them a note and I'll just sing. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May I be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is, as Reverend Barbara said earlier, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King weekend. In fact, today is the birthday. Today is January 15th is Dr. King's birthday. And one of the best reasons for learning about world religions, which is the unit that we're in right now, is learning from others how to deepen our own practice, how to practice these better ways, inspiration for practicing our own values in the world. And one of the best illustrations of this is the influence of Mahatma Gandhi, a Hindu leader, on Dr. King. But even before that, Gandhi, who was a Hindu, as I said, he was one of India's strongest religious leaders. He transformed Indian society. He led a non-violent movement which ultimately gained India's independence from British rule. He, in turn, was inspired by Jesus, who had led a nonviolent movement, calling on his followers to turn the other cheek. And that expression, some people will think of that as weakness or as meekness, but it was actually, I heard Marcus Borg talk about it one time, and it was actually that if you turn the other cheek in the culture of the time, they couldn't hit you like with the back of their hand as if you were a slave. If they were going to hit you, they had to punch you like an equal, So it was actually this turn the other cheek was kind of, it's of course still you're encountering violence, but it was much more of a radical movement. It was much more of a protest, but it was a nonviolent protest. And some people called it passive resistance, but it was actually very active and required a lot of bravery and courage and planning and training of volunteers. Gandhi talked to and taught and trained the people who worked in his movement. And so, as I said, Dr. King was inspired by this, and through nonviolent resistance, Dr. King, who was a Baptist minister, is connected to Hinduism and to the values of Hinduism. King admired Gandhi's work very much, and he actually traveled to India. He did not meet Gandhi. Gandhi had died before King was able to travel to India. They did live at the same time, but they did not meet in person. But he traveled to India in order to talk with people who had worked with Gandhi and to learn more about the way that he trained volunteers for this nonviolent resistance. And I think we have the next picture. We have a picture of Dr. King when he went to India. He and his wife Coretta are laying a wreath at the grave of Gandhi. So we need to even back up a little bit here, because Gandhi, yes, was influenced by Jesus. In fact, he sometimes said, "I like your Christ, I'm not always sure about your Christians." There's a quote from him, that's a paraphrase, but it was very, you can look it up, it's very similar to that. But also, guess what? There is a Unitarian connection here, because Gandhi was also very much influenced by Henry David Thoreau, who was a Unitarian, who in the 19th century America non-violently protested the war to the point that he went to jail because he did not want to pay his taxes and have his tax dollars used for war. And so that was another inspiration for Gandhi. So again, if you have the chance to learn from other people, if you have the chance to look at other religions and learn from them, it's not saying that you will, leave your religion and convert to that religion, but that you will learn and be enriched by learning from other people and other faith traditions. So I urge you to think about that as we continue in this season of studying world religions, and for the kids to think about that in your class today. I think in the middle and high school class, they're going to be talking a little bit about Gandhi and King. And come to World Religion Day next week. Let's go ahead and sing the children and youth out to their classes. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Part of what I'm going to be sharing today, later on, is about mysticism. One practice that's sometimes associated with mystics is that of walking a labyrinth. This, what I'm about to share, is from a website called motherearthliving.com. A labyrinth is a winding pattern whose single path leads to a central core, but it's unicursal. The same path leads in and out. Unlike a maze, a labyrinth holds no false paths or dead ends. It's not a puzzle. Walking in the labyrinth, one is always certain of being on the right path. Some are scraped out of frozen snow on an iced-over mountain lake, painted by the dozen on portable canvases, laid out in specially commissioned carpeting, spray painted on a clergyman's front lawn. The patterns echo Hopi medicine wheels and the arts of the Celts, the Jewish Kabbalah, modern Wiccan symbols, and the floor design of the 13th century French cathedral. It's as new as the morning and as old as 250 BC. Sometimes in our solitude, isolation, and individual practices, we can find a sense of connection. We bump into that sense of the interdependent web of which we are a part, even when we're alone. And sometimes in community and shared experiences, it's our joint efforts through which we feel a deeper connection, something that's not just obvious to the eye. Sometimes connection eludes us. But deep connection is worthwhile. It's a noble pursuit, but there's something still you should know. Despite distance and fear, this is from Leslie Takahashi, we are connected. Despite loneliness and change, we are connected. Across different experiences and lives, we are connected. Even in the face of inevitable losses of life, we are connected. When we wish to laugh, we are connected. When we need to mourn, we are connected. Across a nation divided, we are connected. Even when we dance alone in a room, we are connected. In the heat of the sun, in the glow of the stars, across the limits of our imagination, even when nature trembles, we are connected. Things like labyrinths and the meditation that our opening hymn represents are attractive to some of us, and for others it's like, that holds no meaning or value for me at all. I do want to mention the principle put forth by Herbert Spencer, who was a very widely known English philosopher, scientist, theologian during the 1800s. He was also among the creators of the field of sociology, and he's among the greatest minds of Victorian England. What he said is there is a principle which is a bar against all information, which is a proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep, period language from him, a man in everlasting ignorance. That principle is contempt prior to investigation. If you've never walked a labyrinth, don't poo-poo it yet. If you haven't tried actually doing the "May I be filled with loving kindness" meditation to settle yourself or bring you into a sense of rhythm with something beyond yourself, don't poo-poo it. Give them a try. If you have another means of settling yourself, enjoy that. But right now, we're going to sing Sarah Dan Jones's meditation. Nope. Tricked myself here. As I play this, I'm reminded of something else I wanted to remind us. Jeff Beck died this year, and one of the tributes I've heard to him is "People Get Ready." And that song fits kind of nicely with this meditation. So if that's something that holds more meaning for you, you're welcome to sing it. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. People get ready. There's a train coming, picking up passengers from coast to coast. Don't need don't need no ticket, you just get on board. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Let's go into a few moments of silence before our candle lighting. wandering, circuitous pondering, into paradox everything will flow. Can't say what tomorrow's bring, try to learn what makes my heart sing. Laughing at our best thinking, I let go. Puzzling how to trust the ebb and flow. Stumbling on to peace the mystics know. Labyrinthine wandering, circuitous pondering, into paradox everything will flow. Aren't you sweet? Thank you. The title I gave this service today is Through Lines, and there are some NPR or public radio shows called Through Lines. But what I was thinking about is the things that can stay constant through various traditions. And there are other things that we think would be constant that aren't. I don't know about you, but for someone who grew up in another tradition, I am somewhat inclined to think that when I left that tradition, it stayed the same. That if I went back to visit, the same people would be there, and they'd be talking about the same stuff and feeling the same way, and that's not true. None of that is true. Those traditions are alive and growing also. Did you know that many early Christians believed in reincarnation? The Gnostics and Desert Fathers among them. Did you know that Buddha was probably not a vegetarian? In the Pali Canon, a major Buddhist text, it was said that the Buddha would not eat meat from an animal that was killed specifically to feed him, but apparently did not have a problem eating meat brought him from the marketplace that was already dead. Did you know that the world's oldest university was established by a Muslim woman? mean, education in Islam can run at odds. Being a carnivore in Buddhism can run at odds. Having ideas about reincarnation in Christianity can be at odds. Things have not stayed constant. They have not been through lines. Did you know that the Hebrew tradition was initially polytheistic? I mean, that one more of you may know about if you've read the biblical text, because they are always talking about Baal and, having these contests between one deity and another. Did you know that something that many spiritual traditions and religions around the world have in common is a mystical vein? In indigenous and tribal cultures, there are individuals believed to have special connections and clarity, sometimes known as, but more often inappropriately called that, shaman. That title is not appropriate as many places as we might tend to use it. Anyway, in the Sufi branch of Islam, the mystics are the whirling dervish. They are practitioners of a mystical path, the dervish. In mystical Judaism is the Kabbalah, and there are mystics peppered throughout Christianity. The whole awakening of Gautama is correlated with a mystical experience. Not by him. The text of the Tao Te Ching is considered mystical writings. Lao Tzu may or may not have been a person, although Confucius claims to have met with Lao Tzu and studied with Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu means old master, and Tao Te Ching means classic, what does it mean? Oh, well. But they're general nomenclatures. They're not something specific to this individual or text. Still, in our way of thinking, they are. We think of Lao Tzu as a person. We think of the Tao Te Ching as that particular body of literature or writings or teachings. Now, along our paths as Unitarian Universalism, for those of us who were not born into this tradition or raised in this tradition, we can move from arriving here with newfound awareness that whatever tradition we did grow up in did not actually or necessarily have the best or only true and meaningful way to understand and approach what is holy, sacred, divine, ultimate. It may take us a while to get past our disappointment in finding that for us, tidy answers that had been given us or taught us weren't adequate. The explanations offered ran up against life circumstances or intellectual development that seemingly revealed them to be, for us, more like the man behind the curtain than the great and powerful Oz. One must first do some healing, enough to reacquire a sense of curiosity and a recognition that while that particular set of answers may not have felt adequate for us, there is more to it than we in our pain might have been able to realize. In our adult ed class this morning, they were talking about instances when you have felt like a conduit. When something came from you and you don't know exactly where it came from, it was like in the moment an inspired thought that really helped someone, or a painting, or a piece of poetry, or an argument in court that you weren't planning to present. I mean, something that came out of, that felt like it came out of nowhere, and you feel like it was a gift. You know, not everybody's had those experiences. There are other people who have a sense of that communication from the moment they show up on the planet. But for most of us, it's something we have to work at if we are willing and if we have an interest in it throughout our lives. We might have brushes with it, but it's not that thing that holds us in some sort of raptured awareness for the rest of our lives. Once we've found ourselves seeing others, after we've been here a while, and once we've begun to find ourselves seeing in others that they are more like us than different, and that it's a kinship rather than the necessity of the smaller groups, that our connection is survival, and that isolation can be ultimately what kills us if we don't recognize that connection. Often our next stop, after we begin to recognize our commonality as humans, is to think that all religions at their core are the same. You know, we have those posters that talk about the golden rule appearing in some form in every tradition, and we list them out, but they don't point out that in some traditions we're cherry-picking something that is very marginal to that particular practice. And to others, it's absolutely central. So, recognizing that those commonalities may not be as deep as we think they are is the next step. We go back into understanding the uniqueness of the individuals, the things that other traditions have to offer us that we did not bring with us and that we don't know yet. So then we again try to respectfully embrace the uniqueness and experiences and cultures and traditions and religions and backgrounds that are not our own, and acknowledge how limited our understanding really is. You know, the aspect of religious traditions that holds more similarly across a broad spectrum is that sense of mysticism. Within each of those faiths, there is a branch of devotees to developing that sense of connectedness as constantly as possible, and living out of that rather than independently and checking in with it every now and then. So why bother? As best I can tell, it's kind of like, again, visiting the movie The Wizard of Oz, the one that they show with, what's her name? Judy Garland, thank you. Whew, I'm not here today. When it goes from the black and white scenes into color, people who see in what I will call black and white don't know what color is until they have the awakening that carries them into seeing color. Mysticism is like that. We don't know what it can show us and what we don't know until we have those experiences. Many of us have had those awakenings in small doses throughout our lives. You might have to dig to come up with when they happened. But somehow it changed you significantly. A woman named Laura Horton Ludwig wrote something about, though I'm going to just share it to you. I'll read it to you as quickly as I can without losing it all. The religious mystics of every tradition tell us union is what we are here for. Union is what we are. We're connected to each other, to the earth, to the everything that exists, and to the force that lies beyond it all. Only most of the time we don't realize it. Union is not a myth or a pipe dream, the mystics say. It is our true nature. Buddhists speak of interbeing, the connectedness of all that is. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition gives us the beautiful language of the interconnected web of all existence of which we are a part. Most of the time we feel separate, but connected is what we are. To others, to the whole of creation, to the energies moving in all things. Our sexuality helps us know that not just with our intellects, but with our total self, when it is loving and respectful and playful sexual connection between human beings, is a witness to that truth of connection and union. I know Baptist ministers that will swear by this. It mirrors and teaches us about our connection to the divine. The mystics tell us human beings simply can't handle fully experiencing our connection to the holy. It would be like being totally blinded. There are a lot of fiction stories that include things like that. They tell us we are not just loved at every moment, but we are connected at every moment to the holy, to creative nature, mystery, to energy. Call it what you will. This is not about believing in God or not. It's about the energy that moves through the entire universe in ways that are beyond our understanding. It's about the energy that moves through the entire universe and breathes through us at every moment. And one of the best words we have to describe that energy, which can never be fully explained or understood, is love. The mystics tell us this love, this energy is always with us, but it's so powerful that we cannot handle being fully aware of it all the time. It's too much. It's too overwhelming, and yet we can reach it filtered through another person. So we can become vessels of divine love for each other, not just with our hearts, but also sometimes with these bodies. That's why our sexuality is so profoundly connected to our spiritual life. It helps us to feel our longing for connection and love and union, and if only for a moment, to know the reality that connection and love and union are what we are, not just what we long for. From a website that comes from the Santa Clara University Religion Department. There's an article called Mysticism in World Religions, and it kind of at one point boils down to the fact that there's not a valid lazy person's guide to enlightenment. Those who speak facilely of like the Tao don't know what it is. And anybody who's trying to follow Buddhism or Christianity, if they aren't trying to follow the tenets, then they're not on the path to awareness through that path. Now you have lots of choices. Once upon a time, we had a big plastic mountain in here. It was green, I remember. And around the base of it, I put symbols for world religions, like we have on the wheel for World Religion Day. And I was talking in one of the children's worship services, which we had at that time, about you could start from any of these plaids and start up the mountain. On the mountain, you may actually change path and connect with another one before you get to the top. But I also want to lift up the idea, which is really kind of frightening for me, that in a graduate course on mysticism that I took at LSUS, I was told the best way and most likely way for any of us to actually reach that connection and or that mystical abiding is in some way through the tradition in which we grew up. And I would say that holds true even if you grew up in an agnostic household. You can't talk yourself into things. It has to be part of your nature. And there are things we can't get rid of that are just part of our nature. I just want to encourage you to stay open to it. In Hinduism, there are 4 stages of life. The student, which is childhood and learning, and then the householder, when you have all these responsibilities and you got to get kind of taken over with the immediate concerns of the world. Then the forest dweller, when you have some time and space to reconsider all this stuff, and ultimately someone who withdraws from active life and becomes more like an ascetic. Their needs are fewer, their interests are fewer, but they can also, if they've gone through these other stages, have a more connected old age. Just saying. The mind is willing, but the flesh is weak. What about the spirit? May our spirits fill daily with curiosity and new commitment to knowing something we don't already know, and still relaxing into the paradox of not knowing. Let's just do the first 2 verses of Name Unnamed for our closing hymn. Rise in body or spirit. The lyrics will be on the screen if you can see them. Name unnamed, hidden and shown, knowing and known, Gloria, beautifully moved Spinner of chaos, pulling and twisting, freeing the fibers of pattern and form. Weaver of stories, famed or unspoken, tangled or broken, shaping a tapestry vivid and warm. Name unnamed, hidden and shown, knowing and between the dawn and the dusk of our being, let us be brave and loving in our little passage through the light. Let us sustain and forward the human venture in gentleness, in service, and in thought. We leave blessed by our connections to one another, to the spirit of life. Walk lightly that you see the life that is below your feet. Spread your arms as if you had wings and could dance through the air. Feel the joy of the breath in your lungs and the fire in your heart. Live to love and be a blessing on this earth. We extinguish the flame, but not its meaning and mission in our hearts. Our time together has ended. Go in peace. Go in love. We're gonna see the changes we've been looking for. We're gonna find the common ground we need. We're gonna see the light come on in dark places. And we're going to reach Martin's dream. Some of the young are born now, seeing from the mountaintop, miles above generations never quite free, living in history's pages. Timing is everything, and we're going to reach Martin's dream. It's been longer than it's gonna be. Grace falls open, love is breaking free. Let hate be done. We are the ones, hard as that might be to believe. We're going to reach Martin's dream. It's gonna be. Grace falls open, love is breaking free. Hatred be done. We are the ones, hard as you find that to believe. We're going to reach Martin's dream.